308, 310. Somebody is even more current. Because I understand that cosmetics has been removed from the official, on the list that can attract official exchange rate. So if you have to use cosmetics, you go to the parallel market. So if it seems that this question, that the two first speakers who have responded to it are women, you will understand the trouble that they are going through. So, have we asked ourselves, how does it work? So if you use that parallel level, 80,000, we translate to less than $48. At 30 working days, or 30 calendar days, that delivered to the Nigerian worker less than $1.5 a day. In a world in which the world is unanimous, that anybody living on less than $2 a day is miserably poor, is facing greedy poverty. So how does this worker and his wife, and sometimes children, how did they manage their budget? And yet there is no deficit. All right? From 80,000, they pay their rent. They send their child to school, even if the school is free. Transport to school is not free. Uniform is not free. There are a couple of other things he must do. He must transport himself to work. He must pay his rent. All within 18,000 naira in Lagos, in Benin, in Abuja, in Abeokuta, and even in Port Harcourt. Now, if this guy balances his budget without borrowing, and typically, Bismarck will agree, bank lend only to those who don't need it, at least from the point of view of the poor. Because they lend to those who have assets, which they call collateral. The poor people have nothing to secure their facility, and therefore they are out of the banking system. Even when we create symbolic things like microcredit and so on, it's more fanciful on the book than the real ground. Now, these are the guys, these are the greatest economists who live within their income without lending from the formal or informal sector. That's why I said the poor woman in a typical rural Nigeria is the most seasoned economist. So now, I understand from CBN figures that by January this year, the total inflow is less than 1 billion. It's probably hovering around 700 million naira. And so if your demand for Forex remain at 4 billion, obviously you will continue to have to dip on your reserve to continue to fund it. And so by the end of the year, or probably earlier than that, you might just find that everything is wiped off. So the CBN now decided to take some measures, which is beginning to hurt some people, and which perhaps has triggered this controversy. Rather than the government, as used to be in the past, indicating their intentions to devalue, it is a section of the people that are behind this agitation. Who are these guys? The investment bankers who want to play on CBN bonds and other commercial papers with hot money that they can move in and out, they don't want any interference. You can use your visas to restrict and regulate the movement of human beings, but the CBN mustn't use any instrument to regulate the movement of dollar in or out of the country. Because if you do that, you are interfering with their calculations and you are interfering with their own projections, and the business of speculation will come under severe pressure. So I will submit that those who are prosecuting are investment bankers, those who make money by just playing on exchange rate. As a young union guy, the MC, I think it was the MC who said people don't know that it's a study economy. No. It was Simon Kolawole live. In my union studies, in trying to understand the problem of capitalism, my lecturers told me on what they call the economics of the real world. How people Because what is known about the capitalist is that he produces goods and services. And in the process, he generates surplus, which he labels profit. But there are all kinds of capitalists, some with no factory. They just need an office. And now the office must even be smaller, given the power of technology. And all they live on is buying and trading on currencies. And they hire double-breasted smart young men, born by poor people but trained in good colleges, and they have the brain to do all the forecasting, what is likely to happen in China, and whether the Chinese currency might appreciate or depreciate, what is going on in US, if Cruz win, whether the dollar will be happier or there will be some tension and the dollar will depreciate, and how Europe is reacting to the crisis in Greece. And once these forecasters did their thing, they can make reasonable assumptions about what is likely to happen. And then they begin to move currencies from dollar to pounds, from pound to yen, from yen to euro. And in the process, they make money. Just managing and speculating on whether national currencies will go up or go down. Because interest rate has gone up in US, what does that mean for UK, and so on and so on. You confuse me more. Okay. I think I should take it easy. Now, so just manipulating currencies, not producing any goods or any services, there are sections of the business community that simply makes their money. They just play on commercial papers, and therefore speculation is the name of the game. And they can trigger speculation, and they can harass you into taking panicky decisions, which they have already positioned themselves to take. So for me, as I understand it, these are those who are prosecuting. If the Naira is indeed on trial, they are the one demanding that the currency should be devalued and that the CBN should not use administrative intervention to manage the currency. It should allow the marketplace to defend it. I read an article yesterday, and there have been quite a number like that in some of our national newspapers, including editorials. And it talks about the elementary principles of economics, demand and supply of goods and services. Demand and supply of goods and services. And that when a lot of money chases few goods, conventionally prices go up. But I like to submit that what we are dealing with here is not just supply of goods and services, we are dealing with pure speculation. Because if you look at the graph, and time does not permit us to go through that, you will see that, and some of them are in the media anyway, all of the assumptions that leads to the conclusion by the economists that human being is a rational economic animal and therefore he will spend rationally. In the Nigeria context, even that is very problematic. Because if a man went to Ada, Su, to collect, he has not labored. And therefore the assumption that because people toil to earn, and because they toil to earn, they are rational in spending. This theory is not valid in an economy in which so much can be collected without effort. And therefore spending can be ridiculous. So if you assume that by devaluing, imported goods will go up, those with stolen money will buy whether or not the dollar is 400 naira to the dollar. The only people who are trapped are workers. But let me round up because I understand my time is almost up, even before I go into the main issues. So people believe that once your inflow has dropped and your outflow remains high, the only way to solve the problem is to allow